I thought we were, we didn't turn the ball over much, which was good. I think we kept the penalties to a minimum, which is always interesting when you mix the team up, because there's not as many guys playing right next to each other as they normally are. So it was clean that way. We kind of dumbed it down a little bit offensively and defensively, and just played pretty basic and let the guys go out and run around and have some fun. But I thought, quarterbacks played pretty good for the most part, and especially being limited in play calling. So that was good. Stayed healthy. Had one guy get dinged up, but they just pulled him out for precautionary reasons. So it was good.
Pete, how was this spring different than last spring now that you've had the program in your hands for a full year?
I wouldn't see you practice. We weren't out for a day. You didn't spend the weekend with us this year, but it was good. No, it was much better. Our guys are finally understanding the process. They know their coaches a lot better, and they know the system, so it's not as much guesswork. So I think all that, if they're out there now, that they made a commitment to being a Division I football player and doing it the right way, both on the field and off the field. So I think in that way we're so much different right now. They're a pleasure to coach. They're a good group to be around. They need a kick in the tail just like every team, but I think for the most part their hearts and their minds are in the right direction.
CJ talked about the kind of more jovial attitude. Guys seem to be getting along better. Do you sense that? Do you sense a good chemistry with this group?
Yeah, we try to do a lot this off season with festering that type of environment. And we had a lot of new guys last year, and we'll have a lot of new guys this year. But there was some guys on the team that didn't know other guys that have been on the team for a year, which I think is almost impossible for a locker room at the college level these days. So we made a point to make sure that the guys know each other and get a chance to know how to push each other's buttons. That's how teams are great. They know how to respond to each other. So that's what we did in the offseason. It was good. And the coaches jumped right in with it. We divided our whole team up into teams. We made captains of those teams. Those guys were responsible for each other and not in everything they did. So not every workout they were graded, every test they brought in they got points, and then so we made it a little competition. So the guys really latched onto it and did a great job.
Competition's kind of been the theme, I guess, for you guys this spring, especially with all the different positions that you've been running. But CJ was mentioning that, that kind of having that year of familiarity with everybody allowed them to focus more on the technique rather than the overall scheme. Is that something you noticed in practice?
Yeah, I think we did. But it is a familiarity with the system that makes it. They've had a whole year in the system, plus this whole winter time, where they hear it again. We're able to meet with them 1 hour a week during the off season, so we took full advantage of that. We met with them, and they had a chance to really know. And then they get out on the field, and they are focused on the little thing because they know the big thing. Now they're focused on the little intricacies of the defense and the offense and things that we want to accomplish. So yeah, it definitely was huge.
What do you think about the offense? There's a lot of familiar faces who did a lot of work for you for this program over the last few years, and last year with Rob and Holmes, and you're going to have a different quarterback. Are you curious to see who's going to emerge in those spots, or do you get a feel for it already?
Well, Brendan Litton has obviously emerged. We brought in a kid named Mike Peterson, the big 34 kid that was out there, who's been a hard worker. He's our kind of guy. He's the kind of guy we want. Fits right in with that group. And we had the kid Kyle Jordan who ripped off a couple long runs today, who's just a freshman. He's learning the system, and he didn't play offense last year. He played scout team. So this is really his first look at our offense. So it's great to see those guys step up, and even Devin Lofton in the scrimmage today did some nice things. So I think the running back situation is really good. I think the quarterback situation is really solid. You have Taz, who played last year, and then the big kid, Jake Dolgala, stepped up, and Tom Balaki, number 10, who's a redshirt freshman this year. And so, those guys have done a great job. So I think the quarterback situation is looking good. Shaping up. Obviously, injuries can throw a wrench into that. But and I think the biggest point of concern for us is the perimeter, is the receiver group. A lot of young guys. Willie is coming off an injury-riddled season, Willie Corliss, and you know, he's a huge part of it. You know, if he can give us all that you know, play in 11 games, then we're going to be a pretty good offense. Because he's a tough, hard-nosed kid that can catch the ball in traffic, and he can really run. And then we could just bring those other young guys along. We're going to have to play some freshmen at that position, I think, unless somebody's upperclassmen step up. But tight end solid. We got 4 great ones, I think, and we got another guy coming in that we think is going to help us. So, I think we're solid there. I think our line is pretty solid. You know, Paul Spada was out all spring with an injury, but with him coming back and us able to develop some younger guys, I think, you know, our line's going to be really good. You know, with a lot of depth, with guys that are going to play a lot of snaps, and you know, to be able to rotate guys in. We didn't have that luxury last year. We were about 5, 4.5 sometimes. And our quarterback, as you know, that situation was gruesome at one point, with only healthy quarterback being Nick. And so hopefully we'll be better at that in that situation. And defensively, everyone's back. You know, we turn everybody. And then all the guys we graduated with 2 safety, Sellerin and Chris Adam. And those 2 guys were outstanding. But we think we got some guys that can come along and do a good job. Saw some big hits out there. You know, that's our junior college transfer. Gonna be a pretty good player.
Which one's that?
22.
Oh yeah. You know, when the midfield put his shoulder in, and we were talking about how that should be like taught. Put that video on it.
Well, shoulder's important. We don't want heads in there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was a great hit, but there was no head involved. It was just.
That's obviously with the game the way it is right now. It's important that you teach it.
What do you want the guys to take away from last season and the whole year, adjusting to you? And, I mean, you started off with a rousing victory last season, and it probably wasn't easy for anyone in the program to go through how it played out last year.
Consistency. We weren't consistent last year. That's the main focus, is to be consistent in the process. The problem last year was we had good players. They just didn't understand the process of winning. They thought because we beat Towson that we were just going to win every game. That's just the way it was. Well, you can't. You got to put that one to bed. You got to move on. There's 11 distinct chapters in the season. It's not one book. It's 11 distinct chapters. You got to be able to put that one chapter to bed and move on to the next one, or else you're not going to win. It's too competitive now. So they didn't know the process. They didn't understand the process. We had a lot of good kids and a lot of good players. They just didn't get it. And I think the most important thing we focus on is understanding what the process is and being consistent. Consistent effort every single day. And we harped on that in the off season. And we've gotten better. I tell you, we were horrible early on, but we got better at the end.